Hey guys, welcome to Brickstars. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the Bricklink Designer Program and doing a buying guide for this year's sets. The Bricklink Designer Program Series 4 is coming out in a couple days here, and if you don't know, this is a program where fan designers submit their designs, they go through this process, and ultimately a couple sets get selected. In this case, we have these 5, the Merchant Boat, the Wild West Train, the Medieval Seaside Market, the Siege Encampment, and the Riverside Scholars. And these are set to be pre-ordered February 4th, so just in a couple days. And before you place your pre-orders, we wanted to go through this buying guide to help you understand the comparisons, some metrics, some of the design, and how this integrates with other sets and your own collection. So this is intended to help you look at these sets maybe from a different point of view and make a better decision whether or not you want to pre-order them, because as with everything else, Lego prices have gone up and it's definitely not a cheap hobby. So we want to help you make that decision. So looking at these 5 sets, which are all amazing, a round of applause for all the designers. They did a great job. Here we're showing the part count for each of these, so they're definitely not small. Some Bricklink waves featured a couple smaller sets. These ones are all pretty big, and you can see from 2100 all the way through to 3200 parts is a pretty big range. And the average part count there gets you to about 2700, which is in line with the Orient Express and Eldorado Fortress. You can see the part count on those is pretty close, and I would say they're fair comparisons because these sets are both more adult oriented and they do feature some similar details. So the other things we compared with these sets and looked at was the price per piece. And you can see with the Merchant Boat, it's just under 8 cents a piece, whereas the Medieval Seaside is closer to 9 cents a piece. Generally, in the Lego world, larger sets will have a lower part per piece count, and we're basing this all on USD. Obviously, we're located in Canada, so you can see the Bricklink prices there are in Canadian dollars, but the price per piece metrics, we've used the USD version, so it's all for comparison purposes anyway, relative to other sets. So the other thing we wanted to look at was the minifigures, and you can see the Merchant Boat has 4, 12 on the Wild West Train, but we get 18 on the Siege Encampment, which is a huge amount of minifigures. I believe the Lion Knight's castle is about 22, and some of the other Lego sets kind of push that 20 number, but generally 9 is considered a fair amount to get in a set. You can see we've highlighted the larger minifigure counts here, as well as the lower piece counts there. So maybe it makes sense that the parts, the price per piece goes up when there's more minifigures, because there's more of a cost there than regular parts. And if we do look at the 2 sets we highlighted previously, the Orient Express is $390 here in Canada. It's about 11.8 cents per piece and 8 minifigures, whereas Eldorado Fortress is a significantly lower parts price per piece count and also 8 minifigures. So you can see the train set here likely has a higher piece count given the rails, but also there's some printed parts here. There's a couple unique minifigures, and there's always a little bit of a premium with sets like this that are just very magnificent. But the Wild West Train here does also get, those train rail pieces, so I'd expect it to be a bit closer in price there, which tells me that this Bricklink set is probably pretty good value. On the other side, Eldorado Fortress, 8.6 parts per piece, pretty in line with these ones. You can see, especially in regards to the Seaside Market, similar minifigure count, similar part count, and they're fairly similar in price. This one's maybe a bit higher than what I would have liked to see, especially considering that this set does feature some printed elements, some fabric pieces as well. So maybe a slightly lower price would have been more applicable on the Seaside Market, but I'm not sure the exact year when this was released. Obviously, if we go back a couple years, with inflation, there's a bit of an impact there too. And I mean, there's probably production challenges with producing these Bricklink sets in limited runs. So looking at all 5 again, let's focus on the merchant boat first. This is again a very interesting set. I don't think I've seen anything quite like this before. I love the fact that it looks like a shoe, obviously a little bit fantasy in nature, but some really cool building techniques. And looking at it from the back, you can see the different colors they've used, the different parts. Like I said, very, very interesting build. I love what they've done with this, and the interior is packed with details. So between this engine, a little bit of a kitchen, some storage, you get a couple different animals as well. I think they did a great job with this set. Now, if I'm a buyer, I'm probably going to compare this to other boats that Lego's released, and none of them really have the part count that the merchant boat has. It's truly kind of a class of its own, but these are still relatively large boats that I think are a fair comparison. The Arctic boat, 800 pieces, the pirate ship with just under 13, and similarly this Harry Potter, just over 1,200 parts. I would say this Creator 3-in-1 is probably the fairest comparison for me. At $150 Canadian, it's a significant amount cheaper than this merchant boat, but the price per piece is a bit higher. Lego obviously includes the skeleton as a minifigure. I would argue there's probably 3 minifigures here, but let's go with 4. It matches what we see in the Bricklink set. So I think for the part count that you get here compared to this ship, you can see it's about 1,000 parts more. $70 isn't a crazy premium. For our collection, I think something like this would work a bit better, but it would be interesting to kind of go through the instructions and see what's built, the building techniques used behind the scenes here, and maybe it's something that you could mod into more of a pirate looking ship if you wanted to. Next up, we're gonna look at the Wild West train. This is one that I am super excited about for a couple reasons. One, I think it looks fantastic. I love the color choice, the dark red, the couple accessory buildings that you get. Ton of minifigures. Looking at the details of this train, you can see they've got a couple different carts. These are very likely and almost certainly sticker pieces, but I think they look pretty sharp, at least in the promotional photos. And I think they did a great job with the minifigures. One of my kind of pet peeves with the Bricklink series is that the minifigures are more generic and not customized, and we'll get to that a bit later as well. But looking at the different carts, obviously the locomotive I think looks great. This designer, we're actually a big fan of his. You can see they've matched kind of Lego style, but very detailed as well. I think this gives me, some similarity to the Orient Express, some to the old Emerald Knight, but really sharp looking train here. And we'll look at some of the other components. I like the little builds they have here with the piano and the safe, and obviously kind of the bandits trying to take the valuables there. And then looking at the passenger cart and a storage cart, I love the building technique on these doors. This is a thing where the designer probably could have just used the Lego single part and dropped down the piece count, but you lose a little bit of the detail. This really gives it that kind of wood built vibe. So top notch there. The brown and black I think work great. That's one of my pet peeves with the Orient Express. I think the navy blue is a little bit dark where you lose some of those details. This looks really sharp. The dark red and brown, just a perfect combination. And then you also get these great accessory buildings, the windmill, the water tower. I think they did a great job designing these. I also like that cactus here. So perfect set in my opinion. At $350 you get 12 minifigures. And like I said, they did an okay job with these. The designer did honestly as good of a job as they could have. I do wish that this is one thing that Lego would maybe tweak in this series, is customizing the minifigures. I'd much rather get 6 custom minifigures than this generic lot of 12. I know on the Ideas lineup, that's what Lego usually does. They'll rework the designer set and they'll sometimes give us new minifigures like we saw with the medieval blacksmith. But we can't complain too much. You do get 12 of them here and you can kind of mod them yourself. And again, looking at the lineup that Lego has with different trains, they've got lots of trains currently out, and you'll see throughout this video we're trying to compare all of these to sets that you could buy right now. We're not looking at a lot of the older sets, but what could I buy today instead of the Bricklink, or is the Bricklink series giving me great value as far as piece count and building into our collection? So looking at these trains, we touched on the Orient Express. If we do look at some older sets specific to the Western lineup, I think this is the only Western set we've received. In fact, I know because I'm a big Western fan. I do have this set. I do love this set. It's obviously much smaller at 700 parts, but I think the designer grid did a great job, because you look at this water tower compared to what they've given us, you can't even compare it. But looking at these minifigures, it's, you know, two different worlds. So if we got these minifigures with this set, I think it would be one of the best train sets in my opinion. And what's really cool is this designer's actually had a Bricklink set already produced, and we do have this one in our collection, so that's why I think the train is a no-brainer for us to add into our growing Western town. They look great together. It's nice that Lego did this promotional shot to show what it looks like with the general store. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the general store sold pretty well. So as always with Bricklink pre-orders, some sets sell out right away. Some sets you get a chance to purchase even after a couple days. My gut feeling is this one's gonna go pretty quick. And finally, there it is again, the general store. Congrats to the designer for having their second Bricklink set turned into reality. Next up, we have the medieval Seaside Market. You guys know us, we're huge castle fans, and this set is stunning. One reason I love it is it really matches Lego's style, which I found with previous Bricklink series, not so much this one, that the builds are maybe too detailed, and as a display piece, it kind of makes our other pieces in our collection look a little bit simplistic. So I do appreciate that these designers try to stay within kind of the Lego building technique style, especially in this case, the modularity of it. I love being able to perhaps build a couple other of these sections and adding them on and expanding my seaside town. I also love the fact that this designer gave us these side builds, which is very reminiscent of old Lego system style where you have a main build, but it adds some play features to the set. So obviously Lego is a children's toy, even if it's marked 18 plus. If someone's buying this for their kids to play, you're gonna get some nice detail with the wine wagon here and this little merchant boat. And of course the market stalls are great. I love the different roof techniques, but all of them very reminiscent of the Lego style. This one more in line with the Creator 3-in-1 castle. These ones reminiscent of the Lion Knight's castle, but they both look great. I love this little crane that we get here, and you can see the market stalls. There's some helmets and gear being sold, another cheese stand and baked goods. I like this snake charmer guy, interesting technique on the rug. It would have been really cool if Lego could have brought back the snake charmer helmet or snake charmer cobra here, but nonetheless I think this set knocks it out of the park. And I like that it can be displayed a couple different ways. Here you have it in a straight line, whereas you could also have it more like a castle itself. And this build particularly is very interesting to me. I think if it had a slightly raised base plate, it reminds me a lot of 6081. This is a vintage Lego castle set, but I don't know if it was intentional or not. Maybe I missed a note if it was, but between the tree on the side here, some of this greenery, the rock, the doors, the tower, it just reminded me a lot of this set, and this is one of my favorite classic Lego sets. So top-notch stuff there. I do like the building techniques of the corners as well, and the minifigures are very appropriate. So I think this designer kind of had it had it pretty good because it's obviously a castle themed set, and there's several different castle torsos that you can choose from in Lego's lineup currently. I think what again would have made it better in this set, even if all these minifigures were pretty much the same, if we got one unique torso print as kind of a main merchant or something like that. But again, not really complaining. A couple more minifigures maybe would have been good too. But they look pretty sharp. And obviously adding to Lego's current castle lineup, the Lion Knight's Castle, the Medieval Town Square, I think both these sets are fair comparisons and both would integrate really well with the Seaside market. The Lion Knight's Castle, 500 parts, just under 9 cents per piece there, and 22 minifigures. You see the Medieval Town Square more appropriate with $300. It's the same price, but you get more parts, so 3,300 parts, and you get the goat. I know you could get it on Bricks and Pieces as well, but to see the goat return in a set is something that's been pretty exciting for a lot of us older Lego fans. So if I'm looking at this $300 and I'm getting 700 parts more in the Medieval Town, it almost makes me want to buy another Medieval Town for my collection, because it definitely seems like the value is there for that set. But I don't think this one's unreasonably priced either. I think 300 is pretty fair. And here's a little bit of a mock-up of what it could potentially look like integrated into your Lego castle display. At first, I was a little hesitant with the slightly different building techniques than the Lion Knight's Castle uses. Obviously, it's something you could mod if you did want to make it look like one continuous build, but I kind of like having that variety there. I imagine if this castle was built over the course of 50 years or 100 years, they would be using different styles, or maybe the Seaside market is actually, several kilometers away from the castle itself. So I don't think it hurts it. And even seeing it side by side, I think it looks fine having the slightly different building technique. The water is a slightly different color as well, so you'd either have to change them if you wanted to, make it look more cohesive, or maybe this is a creek or lake around the castle and this is obviously ocean water. So I think there's some small things you could tweak, but nonetheless, they look great side by side. So definitely a pickup for the Brickstars. Next up, let's take a look at the Siege Encampment. This is an interesting set, and this is one that I love the concept. I love the way it looks. I love all the different sections. I could just imagine this on my shelf right now with the different parts and components, and it looks like there's so much going on. I think they did a great job with this set. I'm probably sounding like a broken record, but honestly, these designers all did a great job. You can see the building techniques here. They've got a little cooking station, a huge keg, some more stalls here, and this weapons armory area, which I think looks great. I love the different weapons they use. They've kind of maxed out the parts that Lego offers, and I love this tent here as well. I would have preferred a fabric piece. I know that's not up to the designer, but again, a fabric tent would have been pretty cool in my opinion. And we do get another cow in here as well, so that's always good to get more Lego animals. I love these builds as well. This one in particular reminds me of an old Black Falcon's catapult, so I'm not sure if that's intentional or not, but obviously there's some historical inspiration here, and you do get the stickered part on the flag as well. So what's pretty cool about this set is there's actually different colored parts and stickers included to allow you to change kind of where your allegiance is. So do you want to be branded with the Black Falcons, or are you more of a Lion Knights loyalist? So I think that's a really cool thing to add, and probably if you got 2 copies of the set, you could have one of each. Obviously that would set you back $600 Canadian here, but looking at the Black Falcons one, they did a little mock-up of the Black Falcons attacking the Lion Knights. I believe in the actual set, the Black Falcons and Lion Knights have kind of made their peace, and The Forcemen are more of a threat, but you can see here they've kind of turned the tables and the Black Falcons are attacking the castle. And then if you're on the Lion Knight side, you could of course be attacking the other Bricklink set, the Lion Knights or the Black Falcons castle that they have there. So pretty cool thing that they've done. I do like the flags they've used here. I wish we got a fabric version of the Black Falcons flag, and can't complain though with the different stickers. One thing when evaluating this set that I looked at is, okay, a lot of the parts I have in my collection, they're fairly simple parts. If not, I could probably buy them on Bricks and Pieces relatively easily, but each minifigure is going to set me back about $5.50 to $6. And with 18 minifigures, that's about $100 worth of minifigures. So if you don't need the minifigures and you've already bought a bunch of them and you've built an army through Bricklink or through Bricks and Pieces, maybe ordering the parts to build the stands and the catapult and the battering ram type builds, you could do for less than $200 maybe. But honestly, for me, I think $200 for everything outside of the minifigures is a pretty good deal, because the minifigures don't take up a lot of parts. So you're still probably going to get well over 2,400 parts for $200. I think that's pretty good value. And in my case, I think I could use some more Black Falcon Knights. So this is another one that's likely going to be a pickup for myself. And what's really cool is if you have other knights in your collection, I'm eager to see what these builds are like in the instructions. You could source different colors and add more tents and almost build like a jousting tournament. So I think the sky's the limit there, and it's something that we plan to do. And last but certainly not least, let's take a look at the Riverside Scholars. This is maybe one of the most unique builds I've seen because the theme is kind of like nothing I've ever seen before. We've had some Western, we've had some Castle. This is really, really different, and the build techniques are great. I love the colors. I love the stonework, the little bit of ivy here, the propeller windmill thing here, and interesting roof techniques. There's a couple different styles that they've used, but they all mesh together pretty well. And what I do like is looking at the close-ups here, how they've done these roofs here using some interesting building techniques. The stonework looks great. Really, really kind of, it reminds me of those old games where you kind of had a fantasy world and you can't really describe what it's like, but it just feels magical. So that's the vibes that I get from this set. And looking in the interior, there is some details as well. So you're going to have an interesting build throughout. I think it'd be a really fun build every step of the way. Nothing's really repetitive. So great work. I love the use of the wrench pieces here to kind of make almost like a iconic moon element there. And the minifigures, I've spoken enough about them. I think the designer's done a good job of choosing from the palette. Obviously some new design figs would be great, but what's really amazing is this designer actually has had 2 sets already produced by Bricklink. So clearly they're doing something right. You can see their Ocean House made it in a previous Bricklink series, and I think this theme is so unique that, you know, it may not integrate with other Lego themes, but you could collect your own series of this designer set. So I think that's pretty cool and nice to see that people are repetitive winners. So for me, it gave me a little bit of vibes from this Dream set, a little bit of Ninjago, and honestly even a little bit of Monkey Kid. So it's kind of all those things tied together, maybe even a little bit of Castle. Like I said, it's really tough to pinpoint a theme for this one, which I think makes it really cool. So let's take a look at all 5 again. Looking at the prices and the parts, I think you wouldn't be making a mistake by purchasing any or all of these. Obviously, the prices are pretty high, so this isn't something that I think a lot of people are going to be able to buy the whole wave. and I'm hoping that there isn't a lot of scalping that goes on, so that anyone that does want to buy them can purchase them and not have to go on the secondary market to pay large amounts, which we've seen in the past with some Bricklink series. But I think the last one hasn't had that happen. Although my worry is a couple of these sets are going to sell out pretty quick. So if you do like them, I would say on pre-order day, make sure you're ready to place your order pretty quick. In our case, we'd love to get them all, but given our room size and wallet and our collection, we'll probably stick to the middle three. And maybe if we had a bigger space, we would definitely expand to get all 5. But that's our thoughts of the series and pinpointing some details. Hopefully we've given you guys a little bit of a different look at the Bricklink Designer Series sets. I know there's a lot of other videos out there. So let us know in the comments what you think of these sets, which ones you plan to buy. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button and we'll see you next time.